10 years ago this season, I was living in Boston, the United States, pursuing my master's degree, believing I would change the world. 10 years later today, I'm in Beijing, China, kind of feeling stagnated in the life of my mid-30s. A lot has been lost in the best time of my life. It was really struggling to figure out what really have happened to me. I don't know who you are there would be watching this. At this small corner of the internet, I just want to get my life experience and the learning saved for good. I can still feel that 10 years ago the world was much more interconnected and not as over-politicized as today. I partied with my classmates and friends from all over the world without really concerning about our home country's political divergence. Although I was not a student of Harvard or MIT, at my spare time, I could participate into the lectures and seminars they were hosting. I had the chance to share facts and opinions mutually with the people I met. I gained knowledge as much as I could and even made real friends. I really enjoyed the experience of exchanging stories with people from different cultural backgrounds and also clearing up mutual misunderstandings between us. Back then, the economy of the US was recovering, and China's economy was also in rapid growth. Investments from both China and the US were flourishing. International capitals were busy reinventing American business models in China. Cultures were embracing each other. The growth, prosperity, and globalization seemed could make everything possible. Most of the people I met believed that. At least I believed that. For myself, the most wonderful thing back then was that I was in my mid-20s. My life just really started, and I finally got both the chance and the freedom to do something I really want. Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Jack Ma, I could be anyone and could create anything I imagined. I was planning to change the world to a better version, and make full use of my definitely extraordinary life. After graduation, I worked in Boston, following my interests in journalism and later in a tech company for a while. But I didn't find any right position in these fields. Even with a master's degree, being a professional with a Chinese background, I could foresee the glass ceilings and the identity dilemmas awaiting. At the same time, my home country's booming development was so naturally attracting. By the end of 2016, I decided to resign the work and go back to China to seek my fortune and find my right position in China's development. After wrapping up those loose ends before leaving the US, I had a 4,000-mile unforgettable road trip from Boston to Houston. That was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Finally, I got on the plane and made a post on my WeChat. I said, officially heading back to my homeland, yet it strangely feels like embarking on a journey to uncharted territory. #new beginnings, #farewell America. At the spring of 2017, I got myself settled in Beijing, here, the only city I thought myself could end up living. Born as a Chinese living in this unprecedented era of the history, I believed that Beijing would be the place where the most China experience would concentrate. It's not only the centers of power, economy, culture, history, or even technology. It's the center of dreams. I was so curious about the root of this society which I was raised up in, and also I care about the future of this civilization that part of me naturally coexists with. I wasn't clear about what to do and how to achieve my goal of changing the world. I just had a fuzzy dream and also a bunch of wishful desires. Well, look back from right now, I didn't even know anything at all about the meaning of changing the world, nor what it takes to change it. For a period of time in recent decades, Chinese society highly respected entrepreneurial success. Entrepreneurial achievements like Jack Ma did had helped driven this country out of poverty and struggle, in which people on this land indeed have suffered too long. After loitering on a lot of entrepreneurial events here in Beijing and researching, I didn't find the direction and felt right enough. and the country had seen so many pure keynote story backing startups playing passing games with venture capitals, I felt that the reality was so surreal. Both of the two societies I lived in were hosting carnivals, in which seemed that no one worried about tomorrow. I believed that the enthusiasm of capitals had gone too far, and people were indulged with too much optimism. Even though I dreamed about changing the world as being an entrepreneur, like maybe Jack Ma did, I didn't feel right to make a startup or raise money before myself was clear about it. I just kept observing the great navigation of entrepreneurships in Beijing. Although encountered some opportunities to try it, I never really stepped in or played the game myself. Other than that, I was attracted by something else. During that time, I was living and working in Boston. Casey was doing his daily vlogging. Since that time, his creations lit me up and seeded in my mind. Therefore, I thought I could give this a try and maybe I myself could also be a famous vlogger here in China. Actually, without a clear path in my mind, I just started to record what I saw with my little camera through my amateurish video making skills learned from YouTube. Following my instinct, I tried to make vlogs I felt worth making. It was even before TikTok became something in China. Video content was a new thing, and the vlog was even an alien concept in people's mind here. So I was kind of the OGs. After publishing several videos online, I was even invited to a TEDx event to share what it meant to be vlogging. People were attracted by this new way of expression. I could smell the air that the online video thing was going to be a large industry in China soon, in which I believe I definitely could find my position and got my fortune. I was so obsessed with feeding my ambitions and dreaming of being loved as Casey was. But I didn't know that most of the things I did were just pure chasing of my ego, and it's not the same as the real creations Casey did. Essentially, I created nothing of real value, only fed the poor narcissism of my own. As a result, those self-pleasing videos and compliment-seeking social media experiments didn't really work out. Meanwhile, my savings were running out. Money became a problem. I must feed and shelter myself here in Beijing, since I was a drifter coming from a small town of the northeastern province of China. Even though I was not a trained professional in filming or experienced producer at all, just for the vlogs I made, I was given some opportunities to take some small-scale video production projects. I bought my first professional camera with a credit card as soon as I got my first offer to take a video making project, even without thinking about whether or not I could get any payment for doing that. I just wanted to take the opportunity to create and prove myself. I received the camera just the day before the first shooting day of that documentary project, and I stayed up the whole night trying to figure out how did that Canon 8AD work. And this was the only professional camera I chose at that time, since Casey used it for his vlogs. I spent the following entire month diving into the poor villages inside this megacity, Beijing, using this Canon 8AD, filmed a half-hour-long documentary about the lives of migrant rural children who lived in those city villages, since their parents were seeking fortunes here in big cities like Beijing. Well, one day, the organization I was making this documentary for, they told me I would be paid for this project. Although I need money, I didn't expect I would be paid for this project, since they build libraries as a non-profit organization for children living in city villages. I believe I could also contribute some effort of my own to the kids here. So before I knew the exact amount it would be, I told them that I would donate 1/3 of my reward on this project directly back to their organization. The day they sent me the receipt of my donation and the money for the videos I made, I found that after my donation, the money I got from them could pay my credit card for the Canon 8AD. That period of time was nourishing. Those opportunities, such as this documentary-making project, were pure trust. I worked hard and learned quickly in practice. Although the results I delivered were not really professional from today's point of view, I indeed had tried my best and provided much more than expected. Friends helped me a lot. More opportunities were coming. After making a few projects and getting some promising feedback, I decided to found a production studio with my best friend, who also didn't have any professional experience in this field. Although at that time, I knew it was not that option of changing the world. That indeed was the available way for me, as being a young man with no money, no resources, but only a strong passion and willingness to do hard work to fulfill himself in this city of dreams. It was 2018 with the proliferation of high-speed networks and mobile devices in China. Short videos, the video thing started coming into people's life apparently, just as I predicted. Those capital-supported entrepreneurships in this field boomed. Hundreds of video platforms emerged in China. None of them host the majority of the audience. Every platform was trying to attract both the audiences and the content creators to use their apps. They were paying big budgets to content creators for inclusive video, and they each had their own standard of rating what type of video was good. I remember a friend of mine who was also a video creator sharing knowledge and skills of video editing. During that period of time, he even had to upload his videos to about 60 platforms to reach as many audiences as he could. To get the money from the platforms, I had to align my videos to the platform standards. I also even tried to build an intermediate agency to do this kind of content selling business. Besides this, my studio took projects to produce short video series for those video platforms and official channels, made promotional videos and commercials for different enterprises and organizations. I tried to take every project I could to gain revenue and make this studio survive. The strategy was too dispersed, both on business and my personal video creations, and even on my life. Or actually, I didn't really have a strategy at all. Even if my undergraduate major was in economics, I just chased whatever flowed to me and didn't know the opportunity cost of them. I wanted to grasp everything and to do everything well. No matter how hard-working I was, it was just impossible. It turned out to be chaotic and not professional in the results my studio was delivering. Therefore, the business itself was not sustainable, and I failed to pay my fellows enough money to support their lives. What's worse, I had to earn money by aligning my video standard to the platforms, and this made me feel sick of making videos myself. As a result, not as most of my peers did, I had not supplied enough amount of qualified videos to the platform to make worthwhile money in return, and neither did I create videos I loved for myself. I burned out, so was the financial status of me and my partner. The studio broke. I had to let my companions go and also face directly what I had lost. It was 2019. TikTok, Douyin in China, almost won the battle domestically and started becoming viral in the US. I just found out that I've missed a ton of the era. The most painful part of this was not just failing to operate our studio well, nor failing to be a Casey here in China. The most painful part was that I thought I had foreseen the wind, but in practice, I had just let it slip through my fingers. In Chinese, it's called getting up early but arriving at the market late. To be honest, I had not arrived anywhere at all. I was just lost. Lost not only in this wild world, but also lost in the maze of my ego, which was made all by myself. Then the pandemic hit. Nothing was normal from then on. That was January 2020. which was the last winter my grandma experienced our family's normal reunion at Spring Festival. Even though people were told a kind of virus was causing problems, nobody really understood what would be leashed and unleashed in the coming years. For my grandma, she just found out that in the coming 2 spring festivals, her children just could not reunion themselves together at her place as we did normally. In January 2023, my family was still hesitating about whether or not to get together for the festival. Although lockdown policies was not that harsh as before, but we were still worrying about the risk that our reunion still could physically bring the virus to my 90-year-old grandma. Well, just the days before that spring festival, she passed away. The weather was sunny that day. After having a piece of watermelon following her lunch, she took a nap as usual, and that's it. No pain, no hospital, no hard choice for anyone. Her nursing assistant at home, Miss Shan, told us that 2 days before her left, my grandma said she felt would like to have some watermelon. After waiting 2 days to get the fruit and tasting the juice, my grandma's wish had come true. Miss Shan believed this. This was the video she took and shared in our family group chat at noon just before my grandma passed away. Everything seemed normal. Had birthed 7 children but got only 4 raised up, including my father. Had lived through the occupying time by the Japanese army and also the lonely decade after my grandpa's passing away. My grandma, she had a not easy but fulfilled life. At the funeral, I remember another wish of my grandma. To her, I was the youngest one in my generation and also the only one still not married yet. She once said that my wedding was the last thing she expected. For me, I was always hoping one day I could bring the one to my hometown and let my grandma's wish come true, but I lost the opportunity. Last year, I got married, finally. I took my wife from Beijing to my little hometown in northeastern China. My grandma's wish had really come true. I wish that. During those years of pandemic, I kind of locked myself up. I had a reasonable reason, the pandemic and the wild world out there. I cut my living expense as much as I could and just escaped the world by reading in my room. Science and physics first, then mathematics, and then philosophy. I was desolated to know why. Why was the world so wild, and why destiny was so concrete? But the real answer never appeared. However, I was amazed by the complexity and simplicity of this natural world. After downing the rabbit holes one after another, I found that the symmetry and asymmetry of this world was so miraculous. Everything is connected, and every structure blossoms with the same pattern beneath its appearance. I found that the way I perceived the world could always opposite but fulfill the thinking of the masters I read. This consistency is so interesting. Maybe I myself could even contribute a new paradigm of reality perceiving, and maybe it will help human knowledge further break through. This work was the most meaningful thing I could spend my life with, so I would spend a lot of time checking my thoughts and making sure myself was not just insane. As the byproduct of researching on the theory, I suddenly realized that the foreseeing capability I thought I had was just my imagination. Even if I foresaw it right, the way I chose to experience, for its natural limitation, it will always make that imagined world collapse. I tried to control every variable, but the world's asymmetry shattered my plans, only to reveal a true pattern. The world functions through the order of its own, not mine. Finally, I understand the order of the world is not something I can design, but rather like the wings of a leaf. Symmetry grows itself in the chaos and freedom of nature. Ultimately, this is the most cruel but beautiful symmetry and asymmetry in front of me as being a man in such a lost. I still believe I've found something valuable even today. But doing this work of developing something myself back then was also supported by another underlying motivation of mine. What is the order of this world? I was so desperate to know the truth. Only if I got the truth could I save myself out of the miserable reality I was experiencing, so that I could create great works and really approach my most extraordinary life. Every great theory I read was enlightening, but not enough. They were all too flawed to kill the pain of me thoroughly. I had to develop a new one myself. Every morning I opened my eyes. The reality was standing in front of me. I was already stepped into the age of my 30s, but accomplished nothing. I needed a theory of everything just to get consistent with myself. That's the way I needed at that time to get my inner peace. Hence, it became the theme of my life in the years of the pandemic. Meanwhile, in the trust of an old client, I worked with them as an outsourcing video maker for their corporate communications. Those projects were not in large scale, but needed relatively longer production periods and more flexibility in operation. Since I myself am an independent and also non-professional filmmaker, this happened to be an advantage in doing these projects. Negotiating, scripting, filming, editing, voicing over, even paperwork and more. I did almost every work solely, which should have been done by a team. Most of the time, people from my client's company, they didn't know that who they are working with was not really an entire team of a company, but just me, myself alone. I worked hard and tried everything to support this client. Thanks to those contracts I finished in a row with this client, I could have survived financially during those years of the pandemic. It was not easy. Even most of the time, it was suffering. Those pressures on my shoulders almost killed me in terms of both physical and mental health. I was too feared to team up with others and be responsible for them again. And with the obsessiveness of achieving something extraordinary, I believed that not to do a full-time normal job, this was the only way I had to be both having the money and the time for my research and theory. And this also was the only chance for me to be a person who would acquire a meaningful life. After reviewing a lot of great works, I got the clue to complete the theory. However, I just can't get enough actual options in my ever-rolling daily life to focus and finish those writings. I needed to be reliable in the projects I took with the clients. I needed to take responsibilities of taking care of my families as life assigned. And I also needed efforts to digest my anxiety and social pressure of being off the normal career and life tracks that I deemed belong. No matter how much I wanted, I still could not balance my energy well as I expected. Actually, my project of developing a theory was forced to be kind of shelved. I almost lost my understanding of the notes I took and even the formulas I wrote myself. I was like a spinning top being whipped by the world and could never stand where I would like to be. Till the end of the pandemic, I achieved nothing again, and I lost again. Let me taste it, but take it back when I chase. Life is so interestingly brutal to me. I said this to myself the day I realized this. It was a sunny day. After having overworked weeks for an urgent project my client needed, I saw white and soft clouds floating over the mountains far away. They were so beautiful. Everything was normal. Well, in fact, not everything that happened to me was only bad. During the years of the pandemic, I finally met my love, and I really have experienced a life-changing relationship. This had put me off my destiny and has insensibly thrown me into a life I'm living right now. My wife is a miracle of nature. She is totally symmetric to me in personality. She doesn't need an extraordinary life or any unique metaphysical meaning to feel exist. She is always full of vitality and pure like Antarctic snow in her soul. She always knows the name of the flowers we encounter. Those images of the flowers were not even rendered in my mind before her. She always wished the positive and never gave up even one step on what she wants. No standards set by others would become internal friction to her, nor forbid her from going where she wants to be. I don't admire her ways of doing things in many aspects, because I don't think those were reasonable nor would even work. But interestingly, and contrary to my predictions, most of the time, her not well thought actions indeed gets lucky results for her. And when lucky missed the shot, she would just move on and without any hesitation. For her, living life itself is already a grace that she would devote herself to. No extra acquirement is needed. For her, chasing the meaning of life is not necessary or doesn't need a priority in the expense of giving up a specific life right now. No future or past, no remote or abstract. What attracts her is always the touchable things she is into at hand. Being together with her is the first time my body, not only my mind, perceives that. People could be just at present. We could be being nothing and live a life without chasing to be extraordinary. More than that, a life without hurry chasing the deep meaning of everything is also a worthwhile life, and maybe a more worthwhile life even. We had experienced a lot until we arrived at this marriage. I've never seen her saying anything about life was brutal to her. She just always focuses on fighting for what she wants, no matter what life assigned, brave and fearless. She doesn't even know the virtues she holds. As a result, by being her brave and fearless self, this happened to be a mirror to me. She became the one who had killed a large portion of the old me, and also the one who cut the strings dragging me for a long time. Well, life is so extraordinary. I said this to myself the day I realized this. That day, like today, was raining. I really have tried to chase a lot of things, but none of them was really about myself being a real and robust person first. In the past decade, at my best age of being young, I devoted too much of myself to what was right, but not enough to what was good. Good for me as the base, or good for the world that I wanted to change. I tried hard to play the game, finite and infinite games, but those were only games with myself, not with other people in real life, not with the world in practice, not with you, the component my creations should have intended to connect. This is how I lost myself in my egos. Right now, by saying all this to you, I can't stop blaming myself for it. I finally realized that I was just drowned in fears. Fear of being flawed, fear of losing, fear of being defined by this world. Well, actually, they were fears of living my life, right? We all grow through cracks, gain through losses, change through being shaped by others. That is the real experience of living, which is not a perfect story constructed in our imaginations. When I first started making videos in 2017, I came up with a thought in my mind and it blurred out as time passed. Each time I experience losing, it comes back and gets clear a little bit. That thought was, great personality nurtures great creation. Without myself being good as a person in real sense, I wouldn't be able to accomplish really good work as I expected. After experiencing these hard years, I just realized that when you were lost and not good as a really living person, you just could not distinguish where you were heading. Well, essentially, you lose not because you are lost. You lost just because you choose to lose yourself from your real living life. I'm facing my 35th birthday next month. I was thinking, if I could give some advice to my 25-year-old self, what would that advice be? Well, my conclusion is no advice at all. I tried my best to live my life, I tried my best to love the ones I love. I tried to experience the world as best as I could. Although I failed a lot, I lost too much, and I could never be that young man with those freedom and chances again. I am still alive, still holding the possibilities for the future, still have the present in experiencing. Being itself is already worth praising, and is already the ultimate meaning we all could achieve at our best. I'm still going to lose a lot during the rest of my life, but maybe not with those fears always along. Actually, my grandma has already shown me the attitude towards a fulfilled life. She had never feared anything and just had always tasted the juice of the present. She didn't lose my wedding. Yes, she indeed expected, but it had never become a burden or regret of her. It's just a pity of mine myself. At the bottom of her heart, I know she always believed everything will be okay. Now, I believe this wisdom and courage has started growing in me. I should be honest with myself and really appreciate what I was given. Comparing to the majority of people living on this planet, those opportunities I personally had to have experienced a relatively united world for the period of history, to have enjoyed a cross-cultural learning process when I was young, to have had the chance and freedom to try and error. They were already privileges and blessings to me. And what I should do is not just pity myself and wallow myself at my loss. I owe my matrix a grateful feedback. So I will accomplish all my projects with my old clients and stop taking new. With the savings I got right now, although options are not unlimited, I think it's enough for me launching again. I'm trying to restart one more time, start from where I should have focused and devoted myself. Try again to be back to the missions I am always passionate about. Being Casey must be extraordinary, but now, just being myself, it is fine. 10 years ago, I was so passionate about learning new things, passionate about sharing my experience with friends with different cultural backgrounds, passionate about improving myself to be a better person so that I could shape good change for the world. 10 years later today, even after so many losses, I clearly don't intend to give up. We all talk about free will. To me, free will is the choice of trying. As long as I choose to try, free will grows together with me. As long as I can still try, even fail again in my next decade, even if it looks not cool or not elegant at all, that is my way of practicing free will, and that is my way of living my already meaningful and extraordinary life for real. 8 years ago, I made my first video in English and uploaded here on YouTube. I tried to hello the world. After that, I chased a lot and lost a lot. Now, I am trying to share with my real experience and real flaws. Decade ago, I was a young man lucky enough to be nourished by the economic growth, prosperity, and globalization of the world. At that time, I believed that these concepts would make everything possible. Now, I understand the limitation of concepts, ideas, notions, and imaginations. The world was never built on just layers of abstractions. It's always built by specific people with concrete efforts, layer by layer. These efforts deserve the name of changing the world. The best time is always now. I will try to share my life here in China and share what nourished me with the world with you. In this world of algorithms, I don't know where this bottle is drifting. This time, I just want to enjoy the waves, enjoy the rain, enjoy the storm, and enjoy the lost. I hope I will be more brave and fearless to float myself into the wild ocean, which the words in this bottle mean something to someone. If not, it doesn't matter. We are all living our lives for more than this. And more importantly, everything will be okay. I remember when I was in Boston, a professor of mine once said in class, "Life is a lemon. Just squeeze it for the lemonade. Keep squeezing." If you are also squeezing lemons of life, try to squeeze that subscribe and like button. Let's taste the juice together and share what we learn. Well, in the end, this is Shan. It's a name meaning mountain in Chinese. Wish you all the best. See you if we may.